The Dice Man Cometh!
So,
Yes.
let's talk about a game that we have played lately and we have played a while back. But more importantly, we played it lately, not specifically enough, Tuesday, 2 days ago, where we were very lucky to be able to crack open a review/preview copy of Guildmaster by the Australian designer Chris Anthony, published by Good Games Publishing, which has a very large Australian connection with Kim Brayback, good friend of the show and obviously amazing games publisher par excellence.
Yeah, they just had a big hit with the expansion to Unfair, and obviously Unfair before that.
Correct.
They've got a big coming, and if people remember back to my big LFG Sydney interview piece, I did have a chat with Kim on that where he filled us in about Unfair, which was just about to the expansion was just about to hit Kickstarter. This game, Guildmaster, which is live on Kickstarter now, and then a couple other projects that are coming up, and he has been very good to us to get us this at short notice and let us get to the table so I don't forget it. Thank you so much, Kim and Good Games Publishing, for that.
Correct. So this game we first were able to experience, I believe, at PAX 2 years ago, is that right?
Yes.
Where we sat down with Chris and were able to play, I think, Leon, you played it twice, is that right?
I believe so.
Yeah, I only played maybe 3 rounds of this game. But anyway, before we get to that, let's talk about it. So Guildmaster is a game where each player is playing the master of an adventurer's guild.
What a name.
I know. Where each player is competing, because the guilds are competing, in a fantasy world, to be the guild that has the most fame, i.e., victory points. That's a really cool theme, and for anyone who's got into role-playing, has spent a lot of the time being the adventurers, doing the exciting things, but not being on the side of organising
management
and making your guild the most amazing guild in the world.
That's kind of how the game Role Player, everyone went, oh, someone's made a board game out of actually creating a character that goes into these games. This is one step further when someone said, well, you've created your character. What if you've created enough for a team? Here's how you manage your team.
That is 100% right. So this game is played out over 9 rounds. The good thing about these 9 rounds, though, is that the vast majority of it is all done secretly and simultaneously by the players. So straight off the belt, this game, according to its BGG listing, says it takes 60 to 120 minutes. It plays 2 to 4. Very happy to say that it will play within that time frame, because even the notoriously slow dice men were able to play a game of which at least one of us at the table, Aidan, had never seen this game before, so it was a learning game and a teaching experience.
And really, the fact that we had played it almost 2 years ago, I mean, we were pretty rusty as far as that goes.
We were done and dusted within that 2-hour mark. And that's a fantastic credit to this game, because I'm sure you can agree with me, Leon, that most of the time when we see that number on the box, we have to times it by some other numbers.
Well, it is definitely in that sweet spot, because I didn't play with you guys on Tuesday because I was suffering from the plague then, as I am now.
You were suffering.
Suffering. Would you give me a bit of slack? Anyway, so I've only played this 2 years ago, but if you put this on the table in front of me right now, I'd have a fair crack at being able to explain to you how this game works and how it plays, because it was not that difficult at the time, and it's one of those games that after one round, you're just like, yep, got it.
That's right.
And then from there, no trouble whatsoever.
Yeah. Okay, good segue, Leon. So what do you do? Well, each player is going to start with a basic hand of 4 novice adventurers. And that's all they are. But each of the adventurers has some stats which are essentially the skills in 6 different aspects. What you're going to be trying to do is use those skills during the course of the game to win contracts which will get you more fame and more money. But that's the long-term process. Where you're going to start is, you've got to start small. You might have to build up your guild and be able to increase the number of adventurers that you can have, or the number of adventurers you can send out on any given mission. Or you might need your guild to just get more money every round, because you need to spend that money to do stuff during the course of the game. But building up and making your guild as big and as bright as it can be is incredibly important. That will be one of the actions that you can do. The next thing that you can do is actually recruit those adventurers, which will immediately be better than your novice band of novices. You're going to start with the adepts, which are slightly more powerful, meaning they will have slightly more skill in the various numbers that you're trying to get. You will then go up to the heroes and the legends and all the super powerful ones that you basically will be able to recruit as the game goes on. And then the third thing that you're going to be able to do is attempt to complete contracts. Now, there is always going to be 5 or 6 of those contracts out on the board at any given time. The contracts we'll explain a little bit in a later, but they're going to involve assigning adventurers, doing some dice rolling, and succeeding or failing on those rolls.
Garth, is it an adept or is it an adept?
Yes.
I don't know. I'm asking a question.
That's an adept.
Is it?
No, I don't know.
Well, you said it very adeptly.
There you go. Not earnestly. So let's go into this a little bit more. There are 3 possible things you can do on the board, and you're going to start with only being able to do 2 of these things, because every player is going to have their own little player screen, and behind that player screen is essentially a little grid where you've got order 1, 2, 3, and 4, where you will start by only being able to do 2 orders. You'll be able to upgrade that to be able to do 3, and you may even be able to do 4 orders depending on how your upgrades go. And the orders are where you're going to assign a number of adventurers to do a certain number of things in a certain order. So once everyone has actually done that, the orders might be, order 1, I want to build and upgrade some of my guilds, and order 2 might be, I'm going to try and hire this new adventurer that's appeared on the board. Or I might try and hire an adventurer or go and do a contract. Or I might even try and do 2 different contracts in my 2 order spots if I've got decent enough adventurers that match the skills in the contracts I'm going to be trying to do. Arguably the easiest one to explain is the building, because on the board there is a very clearly understood building track where once everyone has revealed their orders, whoever has committed the most money will get to start doing some building. But if there's ever a draw, they're going to have to fight it out. And this is where the adventurers you've assigned becomes important, because you will look at the skills in one of the 6 particular categories for your adventurers, and you roll some dice, compare it against the particular skill that your opponent has done. Whoever rolls the most, they get to go first. That's important because building becomes increasingly more expensive the more you build. And part of the building is upgrading that guild to get more stables. Now, that thematically means that you can send out more of your adventurers and go from doing 2 orders to 3 orders per round, which is great.
Yes.
Or you might want to upgrade your mess hall, which means that then instead of just being able to send 2 adventurers out per order, you can send 3 or perhaps even 4 adventurers if you upgrade it all the way to the level 3. And the final upgrade you can do, which is the big upgrade, is the bar. The bar is really simply, everyone's going to get 2 income per round. You upgrade your bar once, you'll get 4 income. If you can upgrade it a second, you'll get 7 income more every single round. But the challenge of this is there's only 1 maximum upgrade in each of those categories in the game.
So you've got you start with a level 1, you can upgrade to a level 2 or a level 3, but there's only 1 of each of the level 3s. And if, Garth, you get the situation where some happens to get the level 3 upgrade of all 3 of those...
I'm listening.
It's probably going to be hard to stop that person from winning.
Did you let him do that, you idiot?
Yeah.
So Leon hasn't played the game for nearly 2 years, and he knows that was stupid.
Yeah.
That you let me do.
Yeah.
So yes, I was able to get level 3 upgrades in everything.
Cash flow issue.
Yes, I did win the game by, let's say, 40 points.
Are you gloating again, Garth?
No, I'm just telling it how it is. So they're your large upgrades. You want to get those upgrades happening relatively quickly because money starts off tight. Everyone only gets $7. You want to earn income as quickly as you can. You've got other upgrades, which are dice manipulation ones. These are your smaller upgrades. And essentially, you can have up to 4 of those in your guild, 4 of the 6 available sort of skill checks. And they are little double-sided tokens, which will either allow you, if you're rolling for that skill, to change 1 die to a 6, or to have 2 re-rolls of that particular die. So if I'm rolling the red, which is the hammers, the big fighty ones, and I roll 2 1s, I could do 2 re-rolls, or you could re-roll the same dice twice. you can upgrade those, and they are incredibly powerful. You will see why in a minute.
Yeah, you use those almost every turn.
Indeed. So the building, you'll want to do your upgrades. There are also prestige upgrades, of which you can only buy one during the game, and they will be end-of-game scoring.
Yeah.
So they will either, you want to buy them early to try and give yourself a bit of a direction of what you want to do, but more than likely you're going to be buying those probably in the last third of the game where you've already got stuff established, and it becomes a bit of a race as to who gets the one first that is most relevant. I was able to get the Architect Skilled one, Leon, which will make you very happy because it basically not only gave me some points for my upgrades, it really gave me a huge amount of points, and I got 18 points from that one
that
thing
was
alone,
massive.
which was enormous. So building is great. The way it'll work is, as I say, the person who wins the build order will go first. They'll be able to build basically as many times as they need to in order to build large and small upgrades. Each of those have a sort of cross hammer of symbols, symbol of hammers that tell you how many you need. Then the next player will be able to, but the building has become more expensive then, because they might start at 2 coins per build, then it goes 3, then 4, and up to 5, and more, so it becomes increasingly expensive. You then go to the adventuring purchasing side of it, where you're trying to buy your adventurers. They will initially only have 2 adventurers open to you in a 3-player game.
Yeah, so
These are
you're recruiting new adventurers.
your adepts.
Yeah.
You then need to
Adepts.
have hired one of those already to be able to then go up and buy the next stage of hero and up to the legendary version. So there's a bit of you need to do a bit of planning in order to get that. It's really quite simple. You will assign an adventuring team and a letter to say, this is the one I'm going to try and hire. If 2 people are trying to recruit the same one, you have a dice off, and whoever wins it is going to... whoever bids the most...
Yeah, that's right,
is going to
because
get that adventurer,
you've
because
got-
whatever you assign,
That's right.
that's what you're spending. They have minimum bids, but no maximums.
Yeah, that's right. They've got the minimum price, but you've got to think about, is someone else likely to go to that one? I've been getting all these guys with the lyre symbol, music bards, something like that. And if someone else happens to be going for those same symbols, then you're probably going to have to pay more than the base value.
Yeah, but you'll do that, and you'll slowly accrue a larger and larger hand of adventurers. There is no hand limit in this game. You can go crazy, but it's tricky because money can be really, really tight.
Cash money.
So you want to get that. And then the third thing you're going to be doing is contracts. Now, there are always, as I say, 5 to 6 contracts out. Each contract will have 1 or 2 of the different skill checks that you'll be trying to roll against. So a card might say you need to roll at least 6 in the lyre version, the lyre picture, the what is it, the little harp symbol.
Yeah, or the axe, or the stealth symbol, the sneaky
spirit,
mask.
Yep. And essentially you'll assign a couple of adventurers that have those skill checks that match the contract that you're trying to achieve. You will roll for them. If you equal or exceed the number of the contract, you will earn it, which will earn you fame, which is victory points, and earn you money, which is incredibly important. It does become interesting again, though, and I think this may have changed since you played it, Leon, where if 2 adventurers go for the same contract, they are faced with a quandary.
The prisoner's dilemma, they call it.
They do, because they then have to try and negotiate. And it is compulsory that you negotiate, and once it's negotiated, of which you can negotiate the victory points, the money, who actually gets the bonuses on the card, which might be an instant bonus, or an ongoing one, or a boon, which means a couple of different things. You negotiate all of those things, and then every player has a little token with a red side and a green side. You reveal those simultaneously. If it's both green, then you agree and your negotiation is binding. But if one player actually says, nah, screw you, and reveals the red face, then there is no binding arrangement. The contract is then going to be fought over individually. The person who screwed over the other person and said, nah, I don't want to go in this with you, gets to have first crack at it. They don't succeed, or maybe they do, but if they don't, it then goes on to the player who is trying to do the good thing.
And they have a penalty.
They have their penalty, which is the contract number plus the number of dice they're rolling. So if a contract is 6 and they're rolling 4 dice, it becomes a challenge of 10 or
so there's a
higher.
bit of a disincentive to go for it yourself, but at the same time, getting all the money, all the victory point, all the bonuses. let's just say we didn't see a lot of cooperating in our game. did
No.
we?
And that's really the decisions that you'll be making. Now, the other thing that makes this game a little bit more interesting is that a lot of the adventurers cards have symbols down the bottom. And the symbols might be a full moon or a half moon or a sun or a blood moon. And the reason that's important is because over the 9 rounds, the round marker flips from being on its half moon side to its full moon side, and every 3 rounds, 3, 6 and 9, there is a blood moon. A blood moon. What'll happen is whenever that round is triggered and it matches the symbol on your adventurer's cards, that effect triggers. So you might have a card like I did, which is the Thief, which is on, I think, a half moon or a full moon, can't remember.
Yeah.
One of those. I just get a coin from each of my
Stole
opponents,
money
which is
from us,
brilliant.
you bastard.
On a blood moon, those powers are really, really powerful, but you'll usually only find them on the higher level adventurers. So you've had to recruit some of those along the way.
And some of them even have a sun symbol, which is like every turn.
It applies all the
and
time.
it happens in a particular phase. There's a few different ones. So not only do those adventurers have all those skills, they do have those special abilities, which makes them cool.
So there is a lot going on in this game when you just listen to an explanation.
Yeah.
But the game itself plays really quick, and the joy of it all happening simultaneously, it does just move at a clip.
But Garth, hang on, just wait. It sounds like you said that if I go for a contract or I go for an adventure and I miss out, my guys are just standing there with their appendages in the wind doing nothing.
You would think so, but that's where you should stop waving your appendages in the wind and just go for a little bit of a wander. And that's important because, yeah, you might lose your contract, or you might not be able to recruit that adventurer because someone else got the adventurer and bid some more. So wandering gives you 2 options. You can either just roll your skill dice, and for every number, 10, 20, 30, 40, and so on, you'll get some money and some fame.
Yeah.
Or each player has, at the start of the game, one private contract, which is your own secret contract that you can just fulfill whenever you have the opportunity to wander. You can choose to wander as an action as well, but that might simply be another contract that's just some fame, just a bit of money, might be an effect that's going to apply to you. So there's never going to be a situation where you can do nothing.
Yeah, and surprisingly, that was quite handy because particularly, of course, as I usually do, I took the action to get more actions, which in this case was the stable, I think it was, to let me put out 3 orders instead of 2. But because I only had my original team of 4 adventurers, I sort of didn't quite have enough adventurers to do 3 orders.
True.
But I did have another adventurer that got a bonus for completing a contract by himself. So he went off to do a contract, which meant I had one little person that wasn't very useful left over. They then could go wandering and either have a crack at the private contract or just get a little bit of extra money, which, trust me, a little bit of extra money is always good. And you do get, I think, at the end of every Blood Moon round, which is like every 3, you get another private contract. So those don't
the
run
board
out as
kind of resets. All the adventurers that are for hire disappear. All the available contracts that are face up sod off. So the board has a bit of a reset, which is cool. So they're the mechanics of the game. What do we think about it? There is a lot going on in the game. It is complicated to explain, but it is very simple to play. I really liked it.
Well, it was 2 years ago since I played it, and it was, I think, my game of PAX 2 years ago.
Wow.
So I think they've tuned it up quite a bit since then.
Absolutely.
And things have changed. And even the components back then looked pretty good. So I imagine now. I was actually looking forward to trying to be the first backer of this when it came up on Kickstarter. But silly me thought it'd be more fun to hurt myself and go home instead of being up at 4 in the morning, which I was going to be when it went live. But yeah, it's on Kickstarter at the moment, and it's coming, so that's good.
Funded, yeah.
It's funded, so which is a good thing, and I'm looking forward to getting my hands on a copy.
Well, for me, you sort of, when you think about this theme, you think about, or the game that comes to mind for me is, that D&D game with the cubes.
Dungeons and Dragons.
No.
Role player.
Board game. Oh, my goodness.
Waterdeep?
Yes, Lords of Waterdeep. Sorry, people. Right. So you think about Lords of Waterdeep, because that is about technically recruiting adventurers, let's call them cubes in that case. You then are sending out those cubes to do missions, which are cards, where you've got to have a minimum number of cubes, and your adventurer cubes are giving you points. It has a little bit similar, but in this case, your adventurers are people with names and skills and fun abilities.
All the great art, Mark.
Yeah,
You should mention that.
I haven't had a chance to mention the
sorry.
the fantastic art in this game yet. I really do love the character art, and it's really fun to see people like Chris Anthony, the designer, and Kim Braybark, and even Joel Finch, the designer of Unfair. They're all secretly featured in adventurer art in this game, which is really clever.
Yep.
Lost my train of thought now. So in this game, your adventurers have a name, have skills, have abilities. They're going out to do jobs. The jobs all have little themes. Now, it really might just be about do this contract, which you have to roll a 20. They're all a little bit thematic. The bonuses are a little bit thematic. But for me, if I've got to pick between Lords of Waterdeep and this, I'll pick this every time, just because the characters inhabit the game. You're not running around gathering cubes to fulfill cubes in a quest.
No.
So that's one point for me. Did I mention the art?
No.
I love the art. I don't know of any other game that is like this with the orders. Now, of course, there's program movement games where you're programming your movement or something else, but I don't know if you guys can think of any. I can't think of any where you're sort of giving orders like this in secret and then you all reveal and then they're all resolved simultaneously. Normally you do it in player order.
Kind of like the battle system from Cry Havoc or Rising Sun.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Where you build on the I want to do this specific thing before somebody else, or I want to do this and they won't kind of thing. But that's, few and far between. That's just the battle
also
system.
Quite different, the battle system. So, look, it looks great. It's fun to play. It plays in a great amount of time. It has a theme that's not too over the top, but it allows you to get into it. Particularly, look, if you're into your fantasy theme, it's fun. It's not easy in terms of it's easy to play. In my experience, unfortunately.
Oh, did he have an Inish experience again?
No.
because he likes this game.
No. Just in terms of my strategy,
Well, let me ask you.
I fell down.
Let me ask you then,
Yes.
because, look, I did win, and I did win by a fair bit, but then second and third, you could throw a handkerchief over the scores. There was only a couple of points in it. Having now reflected on this for a couple of days and wallowing in self-pity,
Yes.
what would you have done differently?
Well, look, clearly I've already mentioned the huge mistake that both Aidan and I made, which was to let you get all three of the level 3 upgrades.
Yes.
Which then gave you an advantage in orders, an advantage in size of packs being able to send out, and an advantage in income every round. Income is really important in this game, or money is really important, because you need money to build and you need money to recruit.
Yes.
2 of the 3 things you're able to do. Yes, you can wander and get a little bit of money, but you're often only getting 1, 2, or 3 coins from that. So, firstly, absolutely you need to upgrade the bar. I should have done that much quicker. And, of course, as I said, I made the mistake. I upgraded the stable so I could get an extra order, but I didn't really have the adventurers to be able to take advantage of that. So then the next thing I did was I went, I better get some more adventurers. Still didn't do the bar. That was my second mistake.
Yeah, so just on that, because I basically messaged Kim straight after we'd finished playing to give him some feedback and ask a few questions, and he said that in the vast majority of people who play this game, they follow the same strategy as you. They go for the more orders, or they go for the more income straight away, because they're the most easily identifiable and immediately, I guess they're the most selfish options because they are benefiting you straight away.
Yes.
Whereas for I went and upgraded the mess hall straight away, which allowed me to then send out 3 adventurers on every given time instead of 2. What my thoughts was that would mean in any contested section of the game, whether or not we were contesting who was going to build first or who was going to do a contract, I would have the ability to roll more dice. So yes, I wouldn't be able to do so many different orders, but the orders I did have, chances are I'd win those.
I don't think I thought I'd ever say this, Garth, but that was a well-thought-out strategy.
Thank you. Thank you. This is recorded, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And someday someone might listen.
Yeah, what else?
And I think the other thing was the adventurers, because you need to have an adept to be able to recruit a hero, and then you need to have a hero to be able to recruit a legendary hero. I found myself at some stage thinking, okay, now I need more adventurers, but I've only got 1 adept. But then that adept had higher skills, so then I wanted to send them on the contract. So it's that vicious circle of that guy has to go and recruit because he's the only guy who can get the other one, the higher ones, but then that takes them away from the contract.
Yeah, they're spending my money on adventurers, whereas they're not able to go and do a contract which will earn me money. Because contracts you might only earn from $2 to $8 or $9, so that can be your real big cash cow.
And
okay,
I'm up to 3 or 4.
3.
The fourth thing, I think, is, well, I could just say playing with Aiden, because he totally screwed me over. But the reason for that was, and I only noticed it sort of halfway through the game, is we had adventurers that had one of our skills being similar, the one with the lyre, the harp, and that meant all of a sudden we were competing for the same contract every round.
Yes. But part of the reason that I got such a dominant victory, I guess, is that I wasn't competing. I was going for contracts that Mark and Aiden were not going for, so I could put them lower down the order track because I'd gone from upgrading my my mess hall to my stable, so I was now able to do 3 orders, and then because I got the final upgrade, I was able to do a 4. But I was confident that I would be able to do the higher level contracts, of which there are 3 different categories of them, common, and then the other 2 that the name escaped me at the moment, without having to fight over it, whereas I knew that Mark and Aiden were going to fight over it, which was great. Now, the way the game and the rules compensate for that is this working together arrangement, because if 2 players arrange to agree on a contract, both of those players get the maximum fame on the contract. They don't split it. They're getting the maximum fame, and that could have been a strategy for you and Aiden to employ.
It could have.
Is that if you'd actually said, wow, Garth's had a couple of really big successes on these, the fighting skill, the big red hammer, if we just put our big fighty guys together, we might have a team that'll allow us to stop Garth getting that. And that was a big part of the game that meant I was able to win, is that I wasn't scared of not being able to get the contracts that I was confident
But
in.
that's also, you play with 3 people. Most games, when you play with 3 people, kind of, if you have a conflict with another person for like 2 rounds out of the 9, that other person, they've just had 2 free rounds of, way!
Yeah,
Well, multiply that by 3.
Yes.
And where that other person had 9 rounds of being mostly uncontested.
And this is, again, because I explained that to Kim, and he said, look, that is completely common.
Yeah.
And you will find that, because I asked him, I said, look, do you normally find there's more interaction when it's maximum player count, there's a bit more fighting? And he goes, no, it's always after people have played at least once or twice.
Yeah.
And they sort of actually realise the power of being able to negotiate and talk. Now, you can talk and say, let's go for these 2 things and work together on this particular contract. You reveal your boards, and you haven't done that at all. You've completely lied through your teeth, which might screw them over. But there's also a great way to stop it being a runaway leader.
Yeah. So, I mean, it wasn't your fault that you won, Garth. You know, we pretty much gave it to you on a silver platter. But, look, I could have done a lot of things differently. I should have probably thought about it a bit more. And it's not, as I said, it's not that it's a difficult game. There is a bit of strategy there, and I like that, because you do have to think about it a little bit. You do have to plan maybe more than one turn at a time, or at least be thinking about which direction am I going to go next.
Well, we better wrap this up, because the Kickstarter is still live. It has funded. Leon is a backer. There are almost 1,200 other backers. This game's $49 with free shipping to very large parts of the world, so it's a bargain. Another
bit of a Dice Men bingo, I'll talk about the price. It's very well priced too.
It is.
Which for a game on Kickstarter is a rarity these days.
Correct. So that was Guildmaster. We are the Dice Men Cometh. It's Edge Radio 99.3 FM. Here's your song.
I'm in the phone.